Hello, everyone, and to all the basketball fans around the world. My name is Sering Seka. This is our first episode that we are recording on our new platform here. And what we're trying to do here is trying to promote the game of basketball, especially our home country known as the Gambia is in the western part of Africa. Not well known for basketball, but this is about to change. And we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we are recognized all around the world. But with that, I have a very special guest. He's going to introduce himself. I will give him that opportunity to do that, and for you guys to get to know Gambian basketball and kind of hear it from the mouth of one of the leaders of Gambian basketball. With that, I'll go ahead and introduce myself, Mr. Senghore. Welcome to the platform.
Thank you, Mr. Seka. Thank you for having me.
All right. So before we move any further, I would just like you to tell the world and to all the basketball fans out there who you are, what is your relationship to the game of basketball, and what is your relationship to the Gambia Basketball Association.
I think I'll start with the last, which is what's my relationship with the game of basketball in the Gambia. My name is Gheran Senghore. I'm actually the president of the Gambia Basketball Association. And I guess for me, basketball has always been a passion from when we were young. I always tell people that in our days, it was more basketball than football. But because of how things have turned out over the past years, basketball got relegated, to a large extent. So I got in a while back as president. We had a previous election, which wasn't recognized by FIBA, and there were ups and downs here and there, but that's not something that we can get into right now. But eventually we had another election, which was actually organized and coordinated by the GNOC, which is the Gambia National Olympic Committee, under the presidency of Madam Beatrice Allen. And we had a successful election and we came in. Now, it's not been an easy task over the past few years. It's not been an easy task at all. The game of basketball and sports in general is quite challenging in a country like the Gambia, but I guess we'll get the opportunity to talk about that as time goes on.
All right, that sounds good. Now, most people from the outside may not understand what it takes to run a basketball association or to run a league. People from the outside, all they see is, just the players playing and, all that kind of stuff. Can you tell, or try to explain to the average Gambian or to the average player or fan out there, what does it take to run a basketball association or to actually run a league?
It takes a lot to run a league. From those of us who are on the executive to the players themselves, the match officials, getting the right equipment, getting the right funding, being able to equip the kids in terms of practicing gear, in terms of good shoes, getting them into the competition mode, getting good and qualified coaches. There's a lot that goes into it. And then along the line, I would not be ashamed to say that we have not met most of that. And this is the truth. Basketball has been dead for about 7 years in the Gambia. Besides the PAM tournament and a few others, we haven't had any serious, competitions. We haven't had any serious international competitions. We haven't had any exposure. So basically, these leagues that we are organizing right now from last year and this year are supposed to be the door openers, for us, for Gambian basketball to basically work its way out into international competitions, develop our players, our officials, to get them ready for more serious leagues, more leagues that can be recognized by the international community, by FIBA, for instance, improve our ranking. This is where it starts as well.
Yeah, definitely. During your introduction, you did talk about FIBA recognition and how Gambia wasn't recognized, back in the past, but that was the past. Now we are in the present now. Um, if you can just kind of elaborate a little bit on what FIBA recognition actually means, what is it that the Gambia Association is getting that they were not getting in the past, now that they'll be able to get being recognized by FIBA, how will you explain that to the fans out there and to the players for them to understand what it means to be recognized by FIBA?
Well, FIBA is the governing body of basketball, globally. So basically, you're not recognized by FIBA. That means that any international competition that you're supposedly playing would not be recognized by FIBA. Your rankings will not go up. We also have dues that we're supposed to be paying to FIBA, but my understanding is that the last executive did not pay those dues, so we're well in arrears. Now, it is these dues that will put you into international competitions. It is the payment of these dues that will then turn around and come in the form of support, whether it be it to go play international games, is it to train officials and all of that stuff. So FIBA is the head, it's the main body. And without it, well, as it was in the past, we really nowhere with basketball. All we could do was have the kids play. And I believe the only games that were being recorded and recognized at that point in time were the 3-on-3 games. But we haven't had any 5-on-5 games internationally for a while. And even if we did have them right at that point in time, because we were not recognized by FIBA, they would not have counted. And that is FIBA Africa and FIBA International I'm talking about here.
Right. And for the folks who may not know what FIBA is the Federation of International Basketball Association. They are just like the FIFA of basketball. So if you hear the name FIBA, that's what it means. But Mr. Senghore, I would like to give your executive credit during your first term, even though a lot of things were not able to be done during those times because of the constraints that you guys had to go through. But one thing that I would like to give you guys was the 3-on-3 tournament that you guys were able to send some of our players to Congo to be able to compete. And I think our girls came back with a silver medal and the boys came back with a bronze medal, which was very, very impressive. So I just think that, that was a way of introducing ourselves, to basketball in Africa here. But just like you said, the 5-on-5 is much more recognized than the 3-on-3. So I just want to give you kudos for being able to achieve that during your first term. And what is it that we are looking forward to in the second term that you guys are on right now? So because this time around things are a little bit different, we don't have those obstacles, that we had during the first term. What is it that, you guys are targeting to put in place to be able to continue to grow the game of basketball in the Gambia?
First of all, I'd like to talk about the 3-on-3 that we had in Congo that you just mentioned. For me, that was my pride. Not all of us could go, of course, because of financial constraints, but we got the team out there.
Mm-hmm.
We were certain that for the men who were going to get it last minute, our big actually came up with COVID, so he couldn't go. But despite that, we had the boys, just 3 of them, play about 6-7 matches on their own, and they were able to make it. That was a lot of pride. The girls came out too, and they performed amazing. They just performed amazing. If they had 5 more minutes of that game, they would have come back with gold.
Mm-hmm.
That was assured. So that's a lot of pride for Gambia right there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I do remember, I spoke to them, when they were in Congo. I left them a video message and they really appreciated it. And I just want to give a shout out to the players who were there representing us. Folks like Mohamed Danso, they call him Jet Li. Amadou Keita, he's well known as Amo. Paul Baben, I think Keba Fall also went with them. Coach Aliunyan was there too, and the girls, Fanta Minte, Tida Minte, and the 2 other girls, that I cannot remember their names. So I just want to give them a good shout out, for being there representing all of us and coming back with medals. I think that was great.
It was indeed. Now, I guess it's coming back to the issue of this season.
Mm-hmm.
We're ready. We're more prepared. We have 2-3 meetings a week, even if we don't do it in-person meetings. We talk over the phone, try to make sure that things will turn out the way we want them to turn out. But we have constraints,
mm-hmm.
And our constraints has been finances. The GBA just does not have it. I mean, maybe I had said I was not going to talk about the past, but since we got into office, we have still not been able to get the funds that were being managed by the last executive. It may not be a lot, but it could contribute towards something if we had it. We don't even have enough money and the financial support to pay for the officials, the match officials, and that takes quite a lot. We also don't have enough when it comes to materials. Would like to equip the kids a lot more or a lot better. Get them good shoes. I remember when they were going to Congo. I tried everything that was humanly possible to get them good shoes that they could go out there and play with. Get them good balls. Of course, of different sizes, but that was not possible. I mean, and I think this will take a little bit of time, because after basketball died, a lot of people lost interest in it. I mean, people are asking, do you guys really still playing basketball? Is basketball still going on in the Gambia? That's because it's been neglected for so long. So right now, the thought of getting sponsors alone, is crazy. Our government has not really invested in sports. And the fact that basketball had died after a while made matters worse for it. And you have to go, begging hand in basket for everything nowadays. We're having to do that to get the kids, to get them to rehabilitate the courts for one. I mean, some of those courts are in such a bad state. Becama, for instance, I always worry when people play out there that one of the players would get hurt, because I mean the court is just not it. The Independence Stadium is actually just manageable because we had AfriCell come and do some minor renovation. They're basically one of our sponsors. They came and did some minor renovation, which is not enough. I mean, we don't have enough courts in the country. We need more courts. We need to be able to diversify the game. We need to be able to play in the Banjul area, in the combos, taking it all the way to the provinces. But we don't have the financial backbone to be able to do that. And this is really, really, really hurting the game. I'll give you a classical example. A while ago, there was a memorial tournament that was taking place at Bikama. So my Secretary General Igwanyan and I went out there, and boy, I saw remarkable basketball. I still think about it to date. I didn't think that we had players of that caliber in this country. But it just shows that they're there. Their talents are not being exploited. We have a guy who came out all the way from Germany to play, just to understand that he was playing, I think, second division in Germany. These guys played remarkable basketball. Even while I was in the States, I didn't see people play that kind of basketball. So the talent is here. The financial backbone, we don't have. The moral support, we don't have. These are all things that we're trying to build on our own. And it's going to take a while. A while, however, is what we don't have, because in about 2-3 years' time, we always talk about it. We'll have some very good players who won't have the opportunity to be able to play international basketball anymore because of age. And this extends to both the ladies category and the men's as well. So it's tough. It's a hassle. We will do everything within our power, within our ability to make sure that we can sort some of these issues out. But again, it will not happen overnight. It cannot happen overnight because we just don't have the support for it.
Yeah, most definitely. as I was there a couple of months ago, and I was able to kind of go around the courts, just to kind of buttress the point that you made about how our courts are. Um, Went to about 3 or 4 different courts, and what I saw was a little heartbreaking, because of just how deplorable the basketball courts were. The floors, you have these potholes. There's a lot of sand over there. The players will be like kind of slipping and all of that kind of stuff. So I definitely agree that we need better facilities when it comes to the courts where the kids will be playing, and also the talent that you talked about. I tell you what, man, I was amazed when I was there and saw the amount of talent. I did play when I was there back like 20 years ago or so, but these kids, I can tell you, they were much better than we were. I was not a good player at all, but what I saw these kids do is just amazing. And if they have that opportunity to showcase their talents elsewhere, I have no doubt that some of our players that we have, they can play in most major leagues around the world. We're not talking about NBA here, but most major leagues around the world, I'm pretty sure that they'll be able to hold their own over there. So just to, kind of buttress everything that you said. But I mean, you talked about the constraints, that we all understand. In every sports association that you go to, around the world, they will tell you the same thing. Every business will tell you the same thing and all of that. But what are some of the some of the things that we would like to put in place to try to remedy this situation that we have of this lack of funds, lack of sponsorship, lack of interest from the public, and all of that? What is it that you believe that can be done that can at least help things out? It, just like you said, it will not happen overnight for sure, but where can we start? Where?
Well, I think we've already started, and that beginning has to do with the kids being involved in the game.
Mm-hmm.
In playing. I think that for us, that was the most important thing, and that's the reason why we really pushed to have the last league, which my dad went very successfully, and that was the hardest thing, to get players to believe that they are coming back to basketball, and basketball still exists in this country, and that they are going to be competing, and their efforts will be recognized. And they were recognized. For instance, we had the 3-on-3, which was we had the championship for the ladies, which was actually funded by the Gambia National Olympic Committee, and having a woman lead the Gambia National Olympic Committee and being present at the games was really something. It was really something. So that was encouraging, not only for the ladies, but to have the president of the GNOC be there. And I might add that they have been amazing when it comes to providing support. It's not just financial support, but also moral support and advice as well. So I think we're on the right track, trying to get the game up and then trying to get it recognized. And I'm of the opinion that once we're able to get, concrete recognition, strong recognition, maybe we might be able to draw sponsors as well, from institutions, from business entities, getting the game recognized and getting the most important thing is the appreciation from these kids. It's just something that, you go to Serikunda West or you go to YMCA in the evenings and you see how hard these kids work. You see the amount of skill that they show. We're having Senegal come to the Gambia to recruit our players now. And these are people who should be playing for the Gambia, who should be doing stuff for the Gambia. But that's not bad. It is not bad. That just goes a long way to show that we've got what it takes to make it happen. we've got what it takes. So we're doing the best that we can. And in certain cases where we can provide for it ourselves, we go out to people, we talk to people. Most recently also, we actually had a former minister call us to tell us that, hey, I didn't know basketball was alive, in the Gambia, but tell you what, if you guys need any kind of support, I am available. And if, there's a position on the executive, I am available as well. I do want to be a part of the executive. We've had people like Mr. Jagana, who played basketball, years ago, help us raise funds. So these are all things that are positive. But I think the most positive part of it is just being able to see that satisfaction in the kids' faces when they play, and them knowing that down the line, they will be able to play international someday, that their efforts at playing basketball are being recognized. I think that, for me, that's the joy of it.
Well, talking about international, I want to touch on a couple of points here. But just starting with what you were just talking about some of the struggles that you guys are having back home. For folks who do not know, I am based in the United States here. I'm in Seattle, Washington, and I am involved in Gambian basketball as well. So just coming back to that, there are lots of Gambian former players and people who are interested in basketball who reside here in the United States, Europe, Asia, all around the world. Some of them may be listening to this. What is it that you would like them to know about basketball that they left back home and what basketball is now? And if they want to support basketball, what are the channels that they need to go through to be able to, talk to the right people, get in touch with the right folks, and just make sure that, everything that is being done, is supposed to be done, and it's done in the right way?
Well, for some of them, it's actually disheartening. The reason being that a large majority of the people, the basketball players who left this country to basketball scholarships.
Yes.
And basketball sponsorships. And they're well aware of the situation on the ground. And I don't know, maybe for the former executive, which was here about 6-7 years ago, but in my term, I haven't had one single person come out to say, hey, would like to contribute in this way or in that way. And we do have a group chat where there are former basketball players. And every time that we actually, at the last competitions, I actually posted pictures so that they could see not one single comment. The time that we're facing severe financial difficulties and needed to send the kids out to go play in the Congos as well, we put out, help out there. We called for help and support in promoting the game to get these kids to go play. Nothing. I think the only person who actually came up with a donation, and I like to thank and commend him for it, who was a former player and a former sportsman, was Usman Salah. He has done so much when it comes to trying to put people out there, but the rest of them have not really looked back at what they left behind. And the reason why, I don't know. But having said that, we're not going to relent. We will not relent in looking for the help that we need. And if any of them happens to listen to this cast, then I hope that it creates an opportunity where they can send their minds back home. And we're here. The entire executive is here. This is a very, very transparent executive. Anything that is put on the table will be made known to every single person, every single stakeholder in basketball. So anybody who chooses to help us, who decides to help us, who wants to help us, please feel free. I mean, you can call us, and at the end of the cast, we'll put numbers where you can call. You could send us emails. I mean, you could WhatsApp us. We're available. I am available. My Aliou Nyan is available. Other members of the executive are equally available. And these are all people that some of the players who've left the Gambia know. They know well. They know people like Aliou Nyan and have played with Aliou Nyan, who is now the Secretary General of the GBA. So if you are, if anybody out there is interested in helping, and I do hope that they are, please give us a call. We need it. What you left back home, you will come find in a worse situation. So please help if you can. That's the appeal I like to put out there.
Well, that's why we're doing this, to try to change, what's been going on back home, to try to make it better. Because most of us here, just like you said, some of us came here through basketball scholarships. I did not, but I know a lot of my, some of my friends, people I used to play with, that came here through basketball scholarships. So if any of them, is listening to this, I'm just going to tell you, just try to look back. If there's anything that you can do, it doesn't have to be physical cash. It can be, materials, supplies, or anything that you can do to help basketball back home. Because if you do it, you're not doing it for the GBA. You're not doing it for Mr. Senghore or anybody. You are just doing it for the whole country, and for the kids out there. So that's just my appeal to anybody that's listening to this that wants to help. And just like you said, Mr. Senghore, I will put numbers here where that people can see and reach out to you guys, either you or Alunyan, or even Savage. Savage is somebody who has been playing for so many years. Most people who played in the 90s and the 2000s, they know who Omar Savage is. So, these are all reputable people who have dedicated their lives to the game of basketball. So I'll put the numbers out there, and anybody who wants to reach out can reach out. But one thing that I also want to touch on, talking about international, I know we are just beginning. We are at the baby steps. We are not known when it comes to basketball yet. And we're not trying to rush this. But if you look next door, you have a basketball powerhouse in our neighbors, Senegal, which I believe that is the biggest basketball nation in Africa right now. Not in terms of the players they're sending to the NBA. They have sent a lot of players to the NBA. But if you look at the basketball infrastructure in Africa now, I would say it's mostly based in Senegal. The BAL, Basketball Africa League, their headquarters is in Senegal. The Seeds Academy is in Senegal. They send a lot of kids to the United States and all over Europe to play. You have the NBA Academy, it's in Senegal as well. Bunch of scouts come to Senegal all the time looking for talent and all of that. So what I wanted to kind of ask you is, do you think it's too early for us to try to, start tapping into that potential, just on our next door neighbors? Or do you think we should just continue building until we can stand on our 2 feet before we want to, move towards that direction?
No, I believe we should start. And the thing about it is that we have started. I've been talking to the president of the Senegalese Basketball Federation. We spoke quite a number of times, and we had actually worked through the process of getting a coach to come out here and do some kind of a training for us. But then my understanding is that it was because of the COVID at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And the person who was supposed to have come was actually in service. So they couldn't make it. We do know the potential of Senegal. We do know how they have progressed in terms of development of the game of basketball. We equally want to progress in that way, but you have to put into consideration that we have been dormant. Mm-hmm. We have been dormant for 7-8 years, and we cannot and will not be able to wake up overnight and be at par with a country like Senegal. We will, of course, continue to partner with them and depend on them to a large extent on their expertise. We will do that. In fact, we were planning on taking a tour out there and see if we can organize a few games on 3-on-3 and 5-on-5 competitions, just to get our players to be a lot more exposed, and maybe in the process market them while they're there, because I believe that if we can get opportunities to play with the Senegalese teams, then they can see the level of talent that we have. And it will also create more opportunity for us to be able to sit down and talk to them about areas that we can collaborate in. But then I must again point out that it didn't just happen in Senegal just because it wanted to happen in Senegal. It happened in Senegal because government officials in Senegal, because the private sector in Senegal got up and put in an effort into it. They put time into it. They invested into it. And that's why things like that could have happened. It's all part of youth development. That's just what it is. And like any other business entity, the more you put, the more you gain. We haven't put in, we haven't invested, so we don't expect to get, especially not overnight. We are trying to overcome those hurdles. We're trying to work more closely with government. We just got an offer from the Sports Council for advertising for the position of a head coach for the Gambia Basketball Association. And well, as much as we appreciate that, we felt that they should have sat down with us. If you don't have a 3-3, how are you going to get a coach? I mean, if you don't have a team, then where do you start from? They did it with very little involvement from the Gambia Basketball Association. And these are the things that cannot work. These are the things that we must learn to collaborate. We must learn to work not independent of each other. Like government cannot be independent of the associations that it's supposed to work with. It cannot. And this kind of, I think the word I'd like to use is confusions, will not do anything to help us. But then to go back to getting, our neighbor, we're more than happy. We've requested for it. We'll continue requesting for it until we get it. We'll continue competing until until Gambian basketball is able to develop. And we will continue to work with Senegal for that to happen.
So I will just play the devil's advocate here, Mr. Senghore. Being, I'm just going to act like I'm a government official. So the GBA is coming, asking for help. They've talked about what the Senegalese private sector has done, the Senegalese government has done, and all of that. But I'm going to tell you, okay, why will I want to put my money or the taxpayers' money into something that we haven't seen any results? Senegal, they can pinpoint, few of their kids who have made it to the NBA and came back, bring their resources and help the nation. We have not had any of that. So I'm sure most of them will think that we don't have the talent. So why invest our money into, this sport that is not bringing anything for us? What will you tell those people?
I disagree. I'll totally disagree. First of all, I'm not saying that government has not been doing. We're just saying that they need to do a lot more. If they are 10% right now, I expect them to be at 90%. These are my expectations, and it's not too overwhelming. Yeah, They helped us. They paid for the tickets and a whole bunch of stuff for the kids to go to Congo. They saw, the fruit of the labor that they put in. They didn't come back empty-handed. They came back with silver and they came back with bronze.
Yes.
They know for certain that there's talent in here. If we had gone out there and come back last or not come back with anything at all, then they'll consider that to be a waste. But they know that the talent is here. So all we're saying is that, hey, these people were able to raise over 200 and almost 300 million, to send the Scorpions, the national team for the Gambia for football, to go play. We're not asking for 200 million. We have 4 million right now, 5 million. It's able to take male and female 5-on-5, plus the coach, salaries for these players for an entire year. That was my last budget. Under 5 million to pay for these players to stay back in the Gambia, pay for medical insurance for them, pay for a good gym, a good court, and salaries for a whole year. It is not too much to ask if you can raise 200 million, for another game. It is not too much to ask. So I'm not saying again that they're not doing anything, but they need to do more. They need to up their game when it comes to basketball. They know the potential that there is. You can't expect not to invest in something, but then you expect to get a return from it. If they invest, they'll get a return. We will have players going out there, and those players will give back to the Gambia, just like the football players are doing. That's always saying, do more. Do more. Football is not the only game here. We see volleyball. We have the volleyball team, the beach volleyball team are the best in Africa right now.
Yes.
The best in Africa. How much are they doing for them? Most of what I know, most of the financial support I know is coming from the GNOC for beach volley. And if you have a team for the first time in the history of this country, you have a sport that is the best in Africa. We're not talking about the sub-region, West Africa. We're talking about the best in Africa. That's huge. That's huge. In other countries, these people will be glorified. They would be rewarded. They would be recognized. Serious recognition.
That is true.
But here you walk down the streets, you don't even know it's them.
Yeah.
We have Gina Bass.
Yep.
Most of Gina's sponsors, most of our help and support is coming from the GNOC and from the international community.
Yep.
From our sponsors. Government is doing, but it's not doing enough. So if we can have beach volley and become African champions, we have athletics, and we have one of the best runners in the world.
Yep.
Yeah. What about the other sports? Why don't you then invest in sports? Do you need to wash somebody's eyes that there's talent here and they need to exploit the talent? You don't have to do that. You don't have to, because it's coming out. It's revealing itself. The potential is here. The talent is here. God, all you need to do is exploit it. Just exploit it. In fact, some of us are happy to be exploited. It's the Gambia.
Yeah, I can tell.
It's our country. It's our home.
Yeah, I can tell that you are very, very passionate about this, Mr. Senghore. And I can, tell from your voice, and from the tone, that this is something that really means a lot to you. But I mean, it's not just government only. You yourself, you're a business owner. What will you tell your fellow business owners out there, the private sector? What is it that they can get from basketball now that, we're starting to have a little bit of media exposure, and so many of these other things. What is it that you think the private sector can get from basketball?
I'll start with our own company. Our company is GFS Business Development, and we're a private consultancy firm. We needed some marketing, and we sat down and we thought that the best way to go about doing it would be to use a sports personality. Mm-hmm. Before I even thought about basketball, my first thought went to Gina. So I went to the GNOC, tried to get in touch with her. I tried, for like 2 months to get in touch with her, and I couldn't. And that's understandable, because I understand that she was in practice in France and a couple of other countries. So we resorted to the local athletes here and our own local basketball players here. And we went to the coaches, talked to them, and charged us a fee. We want to use this person, this image for a year. And we came to a conclusion. And we're able to use our own people. Now you go around the billboards in this country, and every advertisement you see is probably some photo that's lifted from Google, mm-hmm. or a photo that's come from some other foreign place, some other outside country. There's nothing stopping them. Every single one of these entities have the initiative to be able to use our players, to be able to use our own athletes, to be able to use our own footballers to market their products. And we do go to them. We do. Mm-hmm. There was a time we wrote out 50, I think it was about 55 or 56 letters and two entities. One was an individual and the other was an entity, were the only ones who responded. Fortunately for us, the last time when we went through, we sought the help of Mr. What's his name again? Forgive me. Oh boy, I forgot his name. Anyway, we sought help and we were able to get some kind of financial support. We have AfriCell here, which is like the biggest cellular network company in the country. You know, when I went out there, I was really, really angry. And I'll say this for everybody to hear. I didn't think that they gave us a fair deal at all. It was not a fair deal. You're not going to give us $2,000 and then want perpetual branding for about 3, 4, 5 years. Brand the courts, brand the uniforms that these kids are wearing, brand everything. If you go into that court right now, you think you're in AfriCell land.
Yes.
And I didn't think that was right, but you know, I don't have the overall say, and we were desperate. We were desperate for the help because we were cornered. At that point in time, we had no choice but to accept. So what we have done is that we have written back to them, asking them for a meeting, and the purpose of the meeting would be to renegotiate the terms of the contract. You know, so yeah, these are some of the things that are out there, but people know that they're out there. Maybe we need to do a lot more marketing campaigns. Maybe we need to do a lot more marketing for people to actually maybe bring to mind that we can use. You go to Senegal, every single product is either a Senegalese wrestler, a Senegalese footballer, or another sports personality. That's marketing for them. Same thing with Nigeria. Same thing with the States. You know, if you have a product that's been marketed by an NBA player, for instance, it will cost so much money. It's unbelievable. But here, I don't know if it's has to do with awareness, or if it has to do with a very, very tight capital market and people don't want to invest in these things, or I just can't put a finger on it. But we are doing it, and we would encourage others to do the same. And I guess that's it for now.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that some of the ways that we can utilize in terms of marketing, which will not cost us any money, one way is social media. That's where the kids are. That's where the adults are. That's where all the businesses are nowadays. That's one way that we can use to brand our game and just go ahead and put it out there. You know, another way is, what is it that we can do to bring the fans into the game? Because that's one thing that we are lacking. Our games do have, you know, few people come in, but how can we bring the average Gambian to start watching basketball again? I've talked to, you know, some of the older folks. They will tell me, you know, back then Friday night was dedicated to basketball in Banjo. You know, every family will go and, you know, watch basketball. That's how it was. So I think, you know, that's one way that we can sell our game, to do whatever it takes to, you know, bring families to start watching Friday night games, you know, Thursday night games, Saturday night games, and all of these things. And also, we have some personalities now that are young. These guys in music, ST, Birkamoboyo, you know, and all of these other guys, you know, these are young guys who can relate to our players. If we can find ways to get these guys to come to our games, promote our game, and all of these things, they have a huge following. If we can get onto their platforms, I think that is something that can bring the fans into the game. You know, if some of them know that SD is going to be playing at halftime today at this basketball game, that is huge. That is huge. So I think these are just some of the little ways that we can, or as an association and your executive, can probably, you know, look into and see if it can kind of help us just to bring the fans to the game. Because just like I said, I'm really, really excited about this upcoming season. You know, I think everything has to be done for this season to be different from every other season that we've ever had in the history of Gambian basketball. And I think these are some of the things that we need to have in place, getting the fans into it. The moment the businesses see that people are watching this, government sees that people are going to watch this game, they will start paying attention a little bit more, and they will start listening to, some of our complaints, and I think that is something that would help a little bit.
Okay, I'll just reverse a bit.
Okay.
And I'll go back to the issue of marketing. Yes, it is true. We have, most of the games right now are actually aired. The last finals of the championship was aired on Facebook. It was live streamed, on Facebook. And yes, but the initial idea was of getting us to be able to raise funds. And I don't know how effective social media will be at this beginning stage, because I'd like to remind you again about what I said. Basketball is at a revival stage in the Gambia right now. We're trying to relive, we're trying to resurrect basketball, from 7, 8 years of slumber, and that takes time. I was actually shocked. For the first time, we sold tickets, and we had about 500 people come to watch the finals. This alone should show that, yes, there is interest. This alone should show that, yes, we're creating awareness. When we have games, we also put it on social media, just like we're doing with the league opening right now, or the championship opening. We're putting on social media. And yes, we'll eventually want to go back to Banjul. We would want to go back to St. Augustine's. We want to go back to Serekunda West, and go back to Lamin, and not just restrain ourselves to the stadium. But then those grounds are not yet ready for games. The grounds are not ready for games at all. We need to do a lot of renovations in these courts. A lot of renovations, and we don't have the funding for that. It is not that I just want to stay here and hype about funding. No, it's about building the base for us to be able to go to Banjul. It's about building the base for us to be able to go to Gheran to play a game. It's about reviving that Friday, Thursday night game in Banjul, that we all grew up watching. But then in those days, the Manesilla was an amazing court. It was clean. It didn't have any potholes. Right now, we're not yet at that stage. I have my vice president who owns the team in Banjul, and he has been working tirelessly, putting in his own funds, to try to renovate the Banjul court. If we had the opportunity from government or any private sector institution, come out there and say, hey, we want to renovate 4 courts for you. Identify 4 courts we want to standardize for you. That opens up basketball. Yeah. It's instantly opened up basketball from Banjul to Brikama. Lamin, the last time we had bet on holding games in Lamin, the court was not up to standard. Brikama, I told you, it's a trap. Any player who accidentally falls from there, you lose a leg. You don't play anymore. So it's really, really hard for us to do that. The standard courts we have right now, the stadium, and probably Serekunda West. If we have the help to renovate, we would truly appreciate it. And you would, I can guarantee you, see basketball Thursday night and Friday night and Saturday night basketball games in Banjul. You would see it in Brikama, you would hear of it in Lamin. But let's say it's in the pipeline. Yeah. It's in the pipeline. We will work on that. And I remember last year when I was in the States, you and I talked and you sent me this, I think it was a 5-year plan that we had the opportunity to look at one of these days again and try to see how we could probably merge that with what we have. And if we had a lot more people like you, for instance, contribute towards making basketball better, in the Gambia, then yes, things would move. If we had some kind of fundraising game, and we had tried that, holding a fundraising game for development of the sport, and things would work. In the absence of that, we will continue as the executive of GBA, and in partnership with institutions like yours, do what we can to make sure that we revive basketball and try to upgrade as much of the facility as possible. But then, there's a caveat that it's not going to happen overnight, and the game will not develop as fast as we would wish for it to, because most of these funds will probably be coming from our own personal pockets, and these things are not sustainable. You would agree with me?
That is true. That is true. Running a basketball league is very, very expensive. As you know, we do run a basketball tournament there in February, all the way from January through February, the Pamurusak Memorial Basketball Tournament. And I mean, anybody who thinks that these things are cheap, I'm here to tell you, running a basketball tournament is very, very time consuming, and is very, very expensive as well. So I'm just appealing to anybody out there, if anything that you can do to help the Gambia Basketball Association, or to help any of the teams that are out there, struggling, or, their facilities, the courts, like we've mentioned. I don't think we have any court in the Gambia right now that is standard that any international game can be held. I mean, we don't even have an indoor court, so that just shows you where we are right now. So if anybody's out there, that wants to help, we need it. You can get in touch with me. You can get in touch with the folks at the GBA, and we can all see what we can do. But just like I was saying, I'm really excited about this upcoming season, Mr. Senghore. I'm sure you are too. Just one last point that I want us to touch, that something that I'm really, really passionate about, that I'm really looking forward to, is the girls basketball. We do have, a couple of teams now. It's not much, but what we see, our girls doing right now, and the amount of girls that are playing now, being introduced to the game, I mean, it makes me much more hopeful that female basketball is something that is there right now, and is here to stay, because we are seeing more girls start playing our game, and more teams now are starting to form. And I just wanted you to just touch a little bit on the female aspect of the basketball back home and what we're trying to do.
Okay, before I touch on that, because for me, those are my babies, Yes. Before I touch on that, I'd like to talk about the fact that we've had people like Gerard Mustaf offer to help, and unfortunately we couldn't meet the terms that were involved at that point in time, because he had to involve buying air tickets and stuff like that, hotel accommodations for the duration of their stay. And those are things, for an association that does not have the financial support that is required, then we unfortunately could not make use of that opportunity, which I felt was a good opportunity if we were in a position to be able to afford it. Having said that, that's just to show you that, yeah, there are people who want to help, but, at least if people come to help, we should be able to meet them halfway.
Yes.
Some way. And okay, now the issue of the girls. You see, I favor the girls, and this is the first time that I'm saying it openly. And the boys tell me that all the time, and they say, Mr. Senghore, you never come to our games, but when the girls play, you're the first one here. And oh my God, I don't know if you saw any of their games when you were here, but the girls are amazing. And don't tell the boys I said this, but I think that they're better than the boys. And I think that their games are a lot more challenging, and I think they put in so much fire into it. It's unbelievable. I mean, we had there's Fanta. who was one of our players, and she's actually in Senegal right now, playing for one of the teams. And she took a step the last time.
Mm-hmm.
You could have been in Banjul and you hear everybody scream. I haven't seen steps like that before.
Right.
It's amazing what these girls can do. How I don't know. For me, it's just a passion. And every single one of their games, I go. I don't miss the ladies' games for nothing in this world. But we need help, bro. We need help. It will be very, very, very sad. Extremely very sad to see all this talent go to waste. It would not do us, we would not be doing these ladies justice if we don't give them an opportunity to go out there and exhibit their talents, do what they love. You know, when they were training to go to Congo, these kids would be at the stadium at 6:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And they would train through to 8, 8:30, take their showers, go to school, and be back in there at 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be there with them. Sometimes I have to leave them there because by 9 o'clock, they're still not ready to go. You know, we have some of them, somebody like Yasin will actually bring her daughter.
Yes.
You know, and they'll be there watching together with her husband till 8, 9 o'clock in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about, but that's serious passion.
Yes.
That's serious determination. That's serious will.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when we have the meetings, sometimes I lose my temper. I get very angry because I feel weak.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that I am failing them because what I am supposed to do, I can't do. I'm not getting the opportunity to do. I'm not getting the financial support to do. I'm not getting anything to do. And at some point in time, I said to them, I am going to resign.
Mm-hmm.
I can't watch them fail. I can't. Then my presidency would have had no meaning.
Right.
Then our term in basketball would have had no meaning if we're not able to change their lives using what they love doing the most. It would not be right. But if right now you ask me if you could air out any game, any first game you could air, I'd say must be the ladies. There is no professional player, no coach who sees these ladies, who sees these girls, and would not want to seize them right away. You know, I talked to Osala the last time. In the first, every time we talk, that's what we talk about. You know, the talents that these girls have. And he's one person who's doing everything that's humanly possible, you know, to try to get these kids to have a lot more exposure, to have a lot more training, to be out there, to compete like everybody else who is out there competing, to benefit like everybody else who is out there benefiting. And if you were to say, put a bet on it right now, I put $1,001 right now that any one of these kids will go out internationally and they will thrive. I have no doubt about that. They will thrive 100%.
Yeah, without a doubt. The best game that I have seen in the Gambia, that I've ever watched in the Gambia, was the finals of the Palmo Sad Memorial Tournament for the girls. This game went to overtime. The game was close the whole time. These girls, they were not, I mean, nobody was giving up. You know, we had one of the girls there that had cramps twice, but she went back in the game. That just shows you the resilience that these young ladies have, and just the amount of talent that you were talking about also, and the amount of defense that they play. I mean, and how much they respect the game. I mean, when we're hosting our games, we never had any problems with, you know, the girls in terms of discipline or anything like that, or them being late for the games. They were always on time, very disciplined. Even if you ask the referees will tell you it's much easier to, you know, officiate the female games than it is for the men. So there's a lot of potential in the female games. Lots of good good players. I know that you mentioned Fanta Minte, but her little sister too, Tita Minte.
Yeah.
Tita is great, and you have folks like Maria Bella at Serekunda East. You have Alassane Senghore of Serekunda West. Also, you also mentioned
Yasin.
Jalia Simbub, and her little sister also, how to call it, Zena Bub. These are all girls who love this game and they know how to play it, So I totally agree with you on that, Mr. Senghore. And I guess we'll just have to, end the conversation here. I would just like to give you the last word for you to, just talk to the folks out there. What is it that you would like to tell them as your last word?
My last word would be that, it's our country, it's our home. Every single one of these kids playing belong to us. They belong to this country. And if anybody is out there and they're able to help, contribute to making these kids' lives better, making their dreams come true, please come forward. Especially with the former basketball players. Again, I'm saying that you guys were here. Know what you left behind. We're not asking for everything you have. We're not even asking for financial support. Sometimes just, in terms of equipment will do. Sometimes a call or two to motivate these kids would do. Just give them hope. Let that hope have some meaning. That's all I'm really asking. We will do the best that we can as this current executive to do as much as possible. But we can't do it alone. We can't do it without you, without anyone who's listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just to add to that, anyone that's listening to this that has been involved in Gambian basketball before, just like Mr. Senghore said, it's not always about the money. Most of us here have been affiliated with teams, back home. If you see that your team is struggling, just see how you can help them. If your team is not in existence anymore because they are folded because of financial support or whatever the reason is, see how best you can bring back that team, because we do need the teams. We don't have enough teams. So these are just some of the ways that folks out there can help and just make sure that our game is relevant again, and find ways that we can bring the fans into it and the sponsors into it also. So on that note, Mr. Senghore, I would like to thank you so much for taking the time talking to me today, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for the initiative as well. And we're all gonna always put heads together to make sure that we do stuff for basketball in the Gambia. Thank you much.
Without a doubt, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, bro.